Hello, everyone. So, in case you weren't aware, last night CIG dropped what might be the most information that we've had in one day, probably since the Kickstarter. The 3.0 schedule contains what can only be described as a metric fuckton of information.
Yeah, that's the only word.
That's it.
Or phrase.
So, to be completely honest, it's going to take us some time to sift through all the information that's been dropped. We're going to have to parse it together, figure out what it means for the future development. It's going to take us, a bit of time to get our heads around it. But in the coming days and weeks, months, years, whatever,
Decades.
whatever form of measurement you choose, we're gonna have articles, we're gonna have analysis, we're gonna have summaries, we're gonna have some podcasts and roundtables, and we're just gonna analyze the ever living fuck out of it. I like.
We're gonna go
Streams.
CSI on its ass.
Yeah, I like Evo Streams, the mother of info bombs. Yeah, pretty much. Flint Dragon asks if a metric fuckton is not less than an imperial fuckton. But see, we here on the cast, especially since you may have noticed there are only 3 of us today, we here use proper forms of measurement because...
We're civilized?
Yeah. Because 99% of the planet do as well. So, we're going to start by talking about some 3.0 stuff and what dropped. There, thing is, it wasn't just 3.0. There was also one of the better ATVs in a while this week as well. This week's ATV is insane. Go watch it, because it's really, really good, and some of the stuff that they're working on is amazing. And to be honest, I've been panicking since I woke up at 7 a.m. this morning, which is 9 hours or so ago. I've been panicking because I honestly don't even know where to start.
I started panicking as soon as I saw it.
I was distracting myself last night and not. So,
oh no.
As I don't know where to start, I'm going to hand our starting point off to our esteemed Space Pope.
Okay.
Nehkara.
I'm gonna take the easy road here and just completely avoid 3.0 for a few minutes.
Good call.
So because ATV does deserve to be talked about. There was a lot of information in ATV beyond, like, I actually transcribed about half the episode. It dropped in the middle of the night, and I was one of the people who was around.
Well done, your team.
It was a really, really great episode in the first 12 minutes of it, without even having the javelin section.
Yep.
There was things like how objects are going to be placed, and the fact that you can control their placement and rotation. That you'll automatically switch into throwing an object if you try and place it too far from you, which I thought was hilarious, because someone's going to end up throwing like a I don't know.
And on the topic of the objects, there was a question in Happy Hour this week, which was also good, about right now they've been showing us a lot of GIFs and of videos of them using the objects and throwing it and stuff, and it's always like, here's the object they're trying to reach, and they go to here, and it kind of teleports to their hand, and that's what happens in most games. And they've also said, no, that's not what's gonna be sticking around. We're going to be designing an entire other system so that you will actually grab the bloody object, but just for.
Agreed.
Sorry.
Yeah. It should be noted that the parts that they show on ATV are from a test level. A test level that they actually demonstrated to us on Happy Hour like 3 or 4 weeks ago. But yeah, no, really impressive stuff there. Huge amount of information about the stamina system, fatigue, oxygen, suit depressurization, suit repressurization, and suit punctures. Also, the consequences of fatigue, which I thought were really interesting, where you can actually fail to vault over things if you're too tired.
What game has done that?
I can't think of any. I can't think of any.
But,
Well,
like,
yeah,
aside from
Arma's
Arma.
Arma's probably the closest. And even if you don't fail, if you're fairly tired, it can take your character a while to get over an obstacle.
Yep.
I was really impressed by that stuff, and I just feel like I'm gonna miss out on a whole bunch of stuff. But there was one of the things I thought was really cool was I think I might have been the only person, but the lighting control demonstration was really impressive. They've really nailed that down. They showed like a corridor inside a ship, and it was all sorts of different lights coming on and off, different colors. And the Hull C, which is looking incredible, and according to this schedule that we are going to talk about soon, is still like 7 or 8 months from being done. So apparently the whole series needs some work. By the way, you should take a look at your reclaimer on that schedule there, David.
I know.
Like 9 more months of work on that thing.
There was another thing that I think is really amazing, and there's only a few of us out there that probably heard this, ironically, and thought this. But the way they're doing sound,
yes,
amazingly, like, realistically. So say there's a clunk on the other side of a metal door, that will simulate as if the sound is coming through, muffled through the metal door, and someone in the same room, if he's over there, will have directional sound, which really I think is amazing. It's something that is a big deal, but at the same time, it's one of those things that if it's done well and done right, you just take it for granted.
You'll just go, wow, the sound is good. You won't go, hey, they made sure that the wall occluded the sound, so the sound had to come through the doorway.
Through doors that are open, or it won't like, oh my god, just
super impressive.
And the way that they've done the textures in game, it should also be, if it's a metal corridor, the sound should reflect and echo down there reverberate, than it would as if it was a wooden or whatever corridor.
The other thing that just came to mind, and now is apparently leaving my mind, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, super important. CryEngine does not have render to texture, which for most people, they're like, well, why is that a problem? The problem is it makes it extremely taxing in CryEngine to do things like picture-in-picture or mirrors or reflections or helmets. And basically, CIG is adding render to texture as a technology into
we just moved on to talking about
Lumberyard
3.0?
Engine. No, this is an ATB.
All right, it is. It's in there too.
Yeah, this is all about the helmet, HUD.
Yeah,
the new this new render to texture tech is being used for a new helmet HUD, but it will also be useful in a million other ways. All over the universe to make realistic reflections and mirrors and more importantly, things like video broadcasts will be done way easier.
Which they had said that they weren't sure if they were going to be able to do, and now that they're adding this, maybe they actually they can, right?
That's the whole point of them adding this in, is that they have a lot of uses for it, so it's worth the time to basically build it into the Lumberyard engine.
I'm gonna switch the image up here quickly because
oh man,
look at that head.
Oh yeah, that was from the monthly report post today. Very, very impressive. This is showing off the skin textures
The hair is a bit off. You don't see like the follicles are just the hair's just there. There's no real. But look at that skin and the eyes and the tiny bit of moisture at the bottom of the eye.
Yep.
It's just
amazing.
I need like just a paper bag and
a few minutes.
He'll be in his bunk.
So that was all sort of stuff we heard, and there was more too, but I don't want to get into it. There was that was all stuff that we heard about before they went. Oh yeah, here's the javelin.
Yeah.
And it's basically done. And holy crap, the like 2 or 3 minute javelin demo, before they actually went into the ship shape segment was just incredible, and seeing all like the way that they're using natural light to light up the bridge is just incredible. And the thing I thought was really cool about that is like if you fly from star system to star system, and the color of the star will change, and then like the inside of your bridge will be a different color because of that. Anyway,
yeah, I like that they took to player suggestions and altered the Javelin's bridge so that it can be seen through. I'm just wondering when they're going to do that for the Freelancer.
The Freelancer is that is the high visibility version of the Freelancer. It's a cargo ship, man. It's a pickup truck.
Going back to what you said, I like the idea that they've.
Everyone keeps saying it's a pickup truck, but have you ever sat in a pickup truck? Pickup trucks can see pretty damn well, actually.
They've got a terrible field of view. Terrible.
How many pickup trucks do you see on the battlefield of war?
Lots, actually.
Pickup trucks?
Yeah.
Jeeps maybe.
No, pickup trucks. Aren't terrorist organizations using Nissans?
We're going with the terrorists.
Fucking hell.
So.
Oh god. All right.
But yeah, I suppose Doom said showing with the technical, but yeah.
That followed on to basically 10 minutes of drool fest at the Javelin. Yeah.
I like how they've looked at what we are doing in Star Marine and adapted the interior of the Javelin to think about onboard firefight. I'm very animated about this for some reason. Thinking about onboard firefights and how you would need to set up various fortifications in the event of being boarded, because Javelin, high visibility target, especially in a player's hands, someone's going to try that a lot. And why not?
So I say this just about every single week on the replay, actually. Go watch this week's ATV. This is, since they came back this year, I think this might be one of the top 2 ATVs since they've come, like, in the new year so far. This was a really, really good ATV episode. Go watch it. There's so much information. So much is shown. I have to give very, very, like, that's not the right word. I have to give a lot of credit to CIG for changing up how they're doing ATVs, because the new format really is quite good. It shows us what's going on. I like it. So I want to give them props for that.
It's a much, much better way to actually get the information from the monthly report into the hands of the backers. Because a lot of people didn't read the monthly report because it was like hours and hours of reading.
Well, and people did what they were doing with ATVs, and they came and read our summaries, and now we don't have to do the summary anymore, which, thank God, because that summary would take hours to do, quite frankly.
Yep.
And sometimes as well, putting it in a video format so you can see this complicated thing in action and go, oh, that's what that is.
Yeah, actually, that really helped, because there's a lot of things you'd read in there, and you're like, I have no idea what they're talking about. I don't know. There's words.
So I do want to take a minute to talk about 3.0. And by take a minute, I mean take the next 45
the
minutes.
the rest of the show.
Yeah. But before we get into some of the nitty-gritty of 3.0, I really like that at the beginning of this production schedule report, they set out some caveats. I think those caveats are really important. I really hope that if anyone's going to read through this production report, which you should, because this is insanely detailed and it is a great indicator of where this project is, where it's going, and how far along it is, read those caveats as well, because they are important. It is really important, especially number one. This is something that we backed for in the Kickstarter, and this is something that we've been giving CIG money for all along, is quality. And I like that they are putting it in here, that quality will make things take longer if it needs to take longer.
Prime example recently from gaming resulted in an almost perfect game. Zelda is a great example, which was delayed for I think 2 years.
They took their time.
And it's amazing, but
and it might be interesting to to say, or to look into. I mean, how long was that Zelda game in development for?
Oh, forever. I don't even know how long. Many years.
So
many years.
Zelda was in development longer than Star Citizen has been, quite frankly. So
oh yeah, by far.
Like, let's give CIG some time, but yeah, Zelda is possibly the best game I've ever played.
What Tobit? Okay. Tobatage. Okay. Very important note what he said. Their behind the scenes on the creation of these schedules is really revealing. I think every backer should watch that video.
Yep.
It's 19 minutes long, but it goes into the fact that you look at the schedule and like there's one bar in the schedule, right? That one bar is like maybe 1,700 tasks.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting to see how it's all put together. It's like they said in the video, they've actually closed 76,000 Jira tasks and bugs since they started working on the project, and they currently have like 11,000 pending. It's pretty impressive.
So I've put up on the screen here, this is the full 2017 production schedule. This is everything that they have planned for the rest of the year. Hopefully you can kind of make out some of it. If not, just go find it on the RSI site. They've got it up there as well. But it's a pretty good look at what's coming.
Just a quick warning. This image was so large it was crashing my Chrome. It's 24 megabytes.
It's a big image.
Yeah.
But what we're actually going to go do now is, I mean, keep in mind we're actually organizing right now a more in-depth roundtable looking at everything 3.0 in a week or two, once we've had a chance to sort through all the different tasks and figure out how they're all going. But right now we're going to look at the 3.0 schedule. Because this is also pretty bloody big.
2.5 months.
Yeah.
2.5 months.
Basically 2.5 months.
2.5 months.
And PTU well before that.
Yeah. So let's start going through. There's a few things that I wanted to talk about in this. First of all, just the few notes that I made in the tiny bit of time that I had to analyze this morning. Keep in mind, throw us your questions, ! Question. We'll be getting to those after we talk about this for a bit. But it's important to look at the stuff that's already done in 3.0. The stuff that's already
hugely important. They actually huge point I wanted to make. They actually mentioned that they have like 2.6.3 was apparently like the 2.6 branch was separate. They have 9 months of work in the main branch of Star Citizen that is not in players' hands yet. That is all work
months.
9 months, and that's all stuff that's in 3.0.
Yeah. Stuff that's in there already, the render target refactor, which, like we were talking about earlier, is huge. Crusader has entirely been redesigned as object containers, which is also big. Shiver, are you able to give a more detailed explanation on why that's important? Because I can't explain it.
It will let pretty much anyone who's got a PC, no matter how well within reason, don't start thinking you can play Star Citizen on a 486. If you've got a reasonable enough PC to run the game, then it will enable you to be able to, without issue, render a Javelin, pilots, all sorts of other crap that's going on around you at one time without melting. Because I mean, just the Javelin alone, the amount of polygons in that is probably the amount of polygons in one level of an average game these days. 486, I'm old, get over it.
Yeah, like basically it's part of the occluding that we need to stop our computers from exploding over the fact that Star Citizen's enormous.
Yeah, I mean, like everything to do. Let's just look at the Javelin alone. Just the Javelin, the lighting tied with it, the polygons tied to it, the animations tied to it, the sounds tied to it, what damage states are tied to it, and so on and so on and so on. Just that on its own is a huge load of information.
All the characters inside.
Yes.
Potentially 100 or hundreds of characters running around inside it too.
And this is where the genius of the whole physics engine comes in. If I'm in a Mustang beta just looking at this Javelin, I don't give a damn about what's going on inside that Javelin. I don't see it. I don't need to see it. So the server and the client doesn't render that for me, which means I could run the game. I really am impressed at that bit of tech, because not only can you do that, but the fact that you can look into a window on a ship and see what's going on. I get too excited about this. I'm sorry, everyone. I think that's amazing.
Keep in mind, these are things like a year and a half ago. People were telling them were impossible to do, and they were worried were impossible to do.
Yep.
I mean, they weren't seriously worried because they're CIG and they've done a lot of this kind of stuff, but they were sort of sitting around going, how do we do this? Like, how do we make this work? But it's in the game. So
PU Megamap.
They apparently want to get our loading times coming into the persistent universe down to like 0, apparently.
Which is good.
Also, when they put out the Megamap and they're like, it loads in like 7 seconds. They're like, that's not fast enough.
Yeah.
The part of tech that they talked about that will make that even faster is actually on the schedule. It is the asynchronous object container streaming, and that's what will make it essentially instantaneous. And it's towards the end of the year.
They've also got the modular rooms for planetary outposts are already in.
Mm-hmm.
There's if you
hang on, quick side question. If they're adding in the asynchronous whatchamacallit doohickey, I believe is a technical term, does that mean that Vulkan implementation is expected at that same time, or am I thinking of the wrong kind of thing?
It's not asynchronous compute. This is asynchronous object container loading is what it's called. So it's just a sub-tech within the object container streaming. But that was what they were talking about when they were talking about basically taking it from, my game loads in 6 or 7 seconds to we don't want it to take any time at all. You just want you to click on the button and for it to go directly into the game.
They've got a list of a whole bunch of performance enhancements, from texture memory reduced throughout the project, massively improved LOD computation and average face sizes for ships. They're sharing hair assets instead of having one bespoke asset per head, etc., etc. So lots of performance improvements. Subsumption is in. Like subsumption
very,
is
very, very early form.
But the early form of subsumption is in 3.0 right now, as is an early form of the planetary physics grid.
Yes.
That's a lot of pretty good stuff, gotta say.
There's all the art and the code, and there's an enormous amount of information here.
Few more bits of persistence being added. Your ship damage will be persistent. Ammunition and missiles, for some reason, are listed separately from ammunition. But yeah, the thing that I don't understand, simply probably because of my ignorance of how to develop a damn game, but why persistence is being introduced in dribs and drabs in this way. I'm just curious. That's all I'd like to know.
Probably in case they have to refactor their database at some point. They don't have to do a gigantic amount of work. So the less information it holds, the better, I think, until they decide on a final implementation for it.
It could also have something to do with how long they've been waiting for items 2.0 to hit, because they have to do all of item system 2.0 at once, more or less, and it's taken.
There've been bits and pieces of it, but
it's taking forever. But
I mean, it ties in with the inventory system and item system, and so I mean, persistence is absolutely critical to every part of the game.
They also let's talk about what's coming.
Okay.
So we've got a generic overview of, the release, the aims for release for 3.0. So we've got, they want to have all of the PU content that they're planning on getting in done by end of May. All the gameplay that they're putting in done mid-June, core tech, UI, all that stuff. The thing that they think is going to take them the longest, again, as usual, is networking.
Yeah. And it's also the most important bit.
Yeah.
Like, really, because, I mean, this game doesn't work unless the networking works properly.
We're gonna
one thing we should probably touch on here, because it's sort of the elephant in the room. 3.0.
His name is Erris.
Oh,
ouch!
He's not an elephant. 3.0 was pared down from its original plan. This was something I saw coming. This is why I thought there would be a 2.7 patch, but basically what they did instead was took everything that I thought was going to be in 2.7 and changed the number to 3.0. I don't blame them for that at all. I think this is probably the better route, because going from what we have to an entire star system, it seems too big of a step to me.
And honestly, I can't hold it against them for the reason that they can't get the entire star system in. As they said in the report, one of the reasons that they can't do the entire star system is Behavior are now working more on their own game, which is called Dead by Daylight, which you should check out because it's pretty good. And which basically means that CIG have had to build up an internal environment team.
Or build it up larger. They had one before.
They had one, but they have to grow it by
a lot.
Behavior had 20 environment artists that were working on CIG stuff. That means that CIG basically need to hire 20 new artists at least. So it happens, but it's not like, think about what happened the last time one of their external studios caused issues. We ended up delaying Star Marine for years. This is not that. And I'm glad that they're putting 3.0 out. I'm glad that they're saying, look, it's not going to include the entire system, but go ahead. And honestly, one of the tidbits that came out in this that I think is scary to think about is if you take one of the moons that they have and you put every single subscribed person that is subscribed to RSI,
they
it's
die
even more
because
impressive.
they suffocate without air.
it's even more impressive because it's the number of accounts, right? So it's 1.7 million.
All of the accounts, you take all those 1.7 million accounts, you space them all out evenly on this moon, and they would not be able to see each other. That's how big the moons are.
Is that because we're shy?
Yes.
Yes.
We don't communicate unless it's over the internet or something. Is that why?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But
no, that is quite an achievement, isn't it?
What did they say? 12 and a half days of walking straight to get around one of the moons.
Insane. Absolutely. Anyway,
so you need like one of those little weights for your directional arrow on your keyboard.
Yeah.
You just sort of leave it there.
Yep. So let's try and go through this and then get to questions. We're gonna go more in depth into all of this once we've had time to look at it. But the persistent universe content, which they're hoping is all in by end of May, moons already done. Surface outposts, mission givers, derelict ships, debris fields, and Delamar and Levski.
Yeah, Delamar and Levski is a stretch goal.
Yeah.
But they do expect to have it done by June 1st.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly just getting it set up and ready, and also finding somewhere to put it, because it wasn't supposed to go there.
Yeah.
But I have a sneaking suspicion it'll probably make it. But at the very, very least, we'll have the 3 moons, which are enormous.
So gameplay, player man turrets, pickup and carry, item system 2.0 ship conversion, items 2.0, insurance, stamina, doors and airlocks, cargo, commodities, kiosk support, atmospheric entry support, persistent damage, ammo and missiles, repair, and inventory system support.
Yeah. Something interesting is missing from here.
Yes.
And I mentioned this before.
Lamp.
If you go and look at the schedule, and this is a bit of a mystery to me, but I think I know the answer for it. Mining is mentioned nowhere. It is not mentioned once anywhere in this schedule. However, they did mention that there are a few things that are not in the schedule that are considered research and development that may make it into 3.0, and I think mining might be one of those. The Prospector will be done. It is scheduled to be complete by May 5th, and it's already flyable, as evidenced by ATV this week.
Yeah.
So the ship will be done for it. Whether the mechanics for the actual mining will be in there is totally up in the air as far as I can tell.
I can't help but wonder if part of the reason for that is also there's no real mention of sensors, sensor work and scanning going on. And
possibly.
You can't. Yeah, I'm only offering that up as a possible as well. It could be just like you say, and scanning is just a part of that as well. It all ties in.
Core tech. So planetary tech, including the physics grid for planets and modular space stations, solar system tool, entity update, component scheduler, and entity owner manager. Fairly straightforward.
Entity owner manager, super important. That's what basically will tell the game that things are yours. It's basically like a ledger of all the things you own. And also rules over how they're controlled.
I also like the entity update component scheduler, which, as they say in the update, should improve the overall frame rate. We'll see, but I like a should. I'm okay with should.
I like the should.
For UI, they've got a lot. So they've got kiosk UI, item 2.0 multifunction displays, field of view slider.
Yes, huge. People have been asking for that for years.
May 5th, field of view slider. This will allow players to narrow or widen the field of view to their liking. That is big.
Enormous.
Character customization. So being able to customize heads, air.
I want blue air.
I want bacon air.
Heads, hair, eye color, and skin color. A personal manager app, a mission manager app, cargo manifest app, an inventory system, mission board app, star map app, UI. Why? Star map app.
Our map app.
UI owner component, cargo UI, and a Mobi-Glass overhaul.
Which is a stretch goal.
That's a lot.
I wanted to mention in this, there's a lot of things in here. I wanted to mention a few of these things that we actually saw bits and pieces of. First of all, the kiosk UI looks freaking amazing.
Yes.
Go and check it out in ATV. Looks beautiful. Has tons of information built in, including how long it will take to load and unload your ship. It's actually live on the UI when you are buying and selling cargo. The field of view slider, this is a huge thing, but it's also really important because they've actually managed to make it so that the HUD inside your helmet is actually dynamic to the field of view. So it actually looks good regardless of what your field of view is, which is super impressive. That's also in ATV this week. Sorry for going off on a tangent there.
AI. So they're working on the mission system and the AI turrets.
Mission system is big, obviously.
Over in graphics, we've got render to texture, which again cannot be understated how important this is. Environment probe, atmospheric entry, volumetric fog, GPU particles, and engine trails and contrails.
Which they also showed in ATV this week. Brand new engine trails.
Do you know it in absolute most stupid 1980s cool guy effort? Do you know what that means? You fly through the explosion and the smoke kind of follows you a little bit after.
As long as you're not looking at the explosion, you're fine.
Just gotta have on these big mirror aviator sunglasses. Down, 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 down.
So the backend diffusion subset for 3.0, solar system shop service, and solar system mission service.
Big pieces, huge pieces. The solar system mission service basically runs all the missions in an entire system. The shop service looks after all the inventory and pricing for everything inside a system. Diffusion is basically a new backend service architecture. It's sort of, I think Diffusion is basically their integration with AWS.
Yeah. So networking. Oh, jeez, clicked something. Network. A new message queue.
Q.
Queue.
Q.
Queue.
Q.
Queue.
Okay. Moving right on.
Okay.
A few times today. Physics serialization and network bind unbind. Now, I find this one kind of interesting because it's a stretch goal, right? Network bind unbind is a stretch goal, but it's also the thing that takes the longest on this entire schedule. It is the only reason that we're looking at June for release.
It's also super important if you read what it is.
Oh, it is, but it's a stretch goal.
Yes, it is.
Right? So what if they decide that, like if I'm looking at the overall view of this, right? Like let's go all the way to the back and look at the overview. If you look at the overview, aside from network, everything else just about is done.
Much earlier.
Earlier.
What is that? What
Which?
is green?
The back end? That's the diffusion on the back end.
Oh, okay.
The diffusion on the back end is the second longest thing. It's that and the network bind. I'm wondering if they actually couldn't be done this earlier, depending on how those two go. because everything else is done significantly earlier.
Right?
Right?
It really depends, of course. Like,
it does.
That's actually the beauty of this. People need to understand, like, we're not just getting this schedule for this week. Unless something changes, they'll be putting out the schedule every week. So we'll be able to see how this changes.
Yep.
In fact, I would expect graphics similar to this to be probably a regular occurrence for the next couple months.
Yeah.
Simply because, all these things will be shifting and moving around, and we'll get a better idea in a couple weeks, sort of how they're doing. But no, the networking things are the big pieces that are a problem, and if they can push them, it might actually mean that they're done a little earlier.
But it's not only that, and this is the other key thing that this means to me, is that aside from the networking things, everything else on this schedule can take longer and it won't hurt it.
Yeah.
Everything else on this schedule, more or less, has a month of leeway.
Yeah.
That's a lot of time, right?
It is. I actually should note, like, this might seem like it's a long ways out, but the start of the Evocati window for this patch is 6 weeks from now.
Yep.
That's not that far off.
And the start of the Evocati patch is before those networking things are supposed to be done. Maybe they'll find that it's good enough when, like, we'll see. But there's a lot of leeway.
Yeah,
I think.
I think they've got a lot of room to spare here.
Yeah.
Probably, I mean, considering they aren't necessarily enlarging the play area so much, they only maybe need to add in X amount of network. Like the network unbind and bind is, it's damned useful to have, but it's a stretch goal for starters, so it isn't necessary. But they will probably be sneaking it in at some point. I don't think they would bother. I mean, I don't think you would want Evocati. No offense to Evocati, but I don't see the point of having a small test group test networking. That seems well. No, I do see the point. That's a lie. But I suppose you also at the same time you want your netcode hammered as much as possible.
You wouldn't really get a true test until you hit the PTU.
Yeah.
I think we might see it earlier than, or
I think
least
that it.
not
I think it
too
will
much
actually
later.
hit. I think it will probably, at the very least, I think it will actually hit the PTU in June at some point.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good. It also makes sense of why they spent so much time nailing this down.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious to watch it from week to week and see how it goes. Super excited to have the Star Map app in the game. That'll be really cool.
Yeah. There's a few things I want to touch on quickly before we move on, which we're about to do. We've talked about mining, how it's not anywhere in here, which is kind of strange. We've talked about the rest of Stanton, which is going to take longer because of behavior. One concern that I have is if we look at this schedule and we look at the ships and weapons, there's only 2 new guns there. The Arrowhead Sniper and the Devastator Shotgun. That still only brings us to what, like 6 or 7 weapons?
Yeah, it looks like they're
Awesome
not
one, a
focusing.
gallant gun. Aren't there a few others in there?
Not in here.
Well, there's a railgun.
Yeah, I see a railgun, class 1, a gallant rifle, arrowhead sniper, and the Devastator 12 shotgun.
Yeah. For
Bearing PASC.
where's the bearing?
Oh, it's up. It's up.
Oh, okay.
P8SC.
I don't know. I'm slightly concerned by. There don't seem to be that many weapons, either ship weapons or guns.
Sir, I have a theory on that, sir.
Go ahead, Shiver.
Please. Why did I call you sir?
I have no
screw you.
bloody idea.
If you start off with only a handful of generic kinds of guns, like you've got a massive anti-vehicle gun, you've got a couple of variations on shotguns, and then you see like how they are functioning and how they are being used, and then you can design the rest of the weapons with that in mind, because weapons aren't really that much of work to do, really. You know, get an artist, come in, do your job, make a gun. Here we go. Here's the rigging. Blah 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 blah. It's not as complex as making a Vanguard or making a Carrack, is it? Because even to a degree, size isn't that much of a factor into things, simply because it is just a weapon. It hasn't got to have as much going on animation wise. It only needs a couple of different sounds on it. So once you've got the hand, once you've got used to just making like the most generic of weapons, then you can start making something a bit more exotic, and it's not a huge amount of work to do. It's not like making a ship.
My concern
the other
with
thing
go ahead, Nehkara.
The other thing is that they did mention that not everything is in the schedule. So
it's true, but there are Doom Centurion does mention that they are on the full year schedule, and if you look at that full year schedule, and you take something like the GMNI H-29 heavy machine gun from May to August, it's going to take 4 months to make one machine gun on that schedule.
3 months.
3 months. But they've only got another 4 or 5 weapons on that full year schedule. And if we're only going to get 10 weapons a year, like that to me is one of the things that's one of the facets of production that has to speed up. Remember years ago they promised us
ships,
more, right? No, but years ago they promised that there was one point where they were like, yeah, we know that there aren't many ship weapons. Once this next update comes in, we're going to start putting more ship weapons on the store, and there's going to be a huge increase in the number of ship weapons, and that never happened.
No.
So we still don't have many ship weapons or FPS weapons, and based on the schedule that we have here, there just aren't that many planned, and that is, like, ships are great, but we need weapons too. That's one of my largest remaining concerns. Anyway, #concern.
I actually don't think it's going to be an issue. I think once they go, hey, we need more weapons, and not, hey, we need 1,000 different things. I think that because the pipeline is already there, I think it'd be pretty fast for them to pump them through.
I hope so, but it does worry me for Squadron 42.
I think Squadron will probably be very limited in weapons because it's military. Military only use certain weapons. You have your 4 weapons, that's what you use.
I would imagine it would probably end up very much like the way it is with ships at the moment. You've got Aegis parts, and you can use them like Lego to make a whole new Aegis ship. Right. You'll have bearing parts and so on. You'll just be able to make a new gun.
Or that's also possible.
Are we going to be getting weapon customization before Squadron 42 though?
Yes.
Are we going to be able to?
In fact, that was answered last week. It's going to be in 3.0, or at least the tech will be. So
the tech will be, but I'm still waiting to see something about. I mean, maybe it's just not on the schedule, but actual attachments and stuff are nowhere to be.
No,
found, right?
But there are certainly things missing from the schedule, and that simply, I mean, they mentioned that there are.
Yeah.
There's lots more work going on at CIG than what's actually on this schedule.
I have to mention that as one of my. I hope that they.
Yep.
I hope that they show us a bit more about that soon, because it's. Yeah, I think it's important. Anyway,
something I wanted to mention, because I think it's kind of interesting. A lot of people forgot that what Crusader actually is in the Star Citizen universe is a bunch of open air habitable platforms in the atmosphere of the gas giant, because that gas giant is strange in that the atmosphere is actually breathable, and that sort of just all got lost in, like, I don't think anyone's mentioned it in a long time. I did notice that Crusader is on the schedule for the September to end of November timeframe. So it looks like they actually are going to be putting that part of Crusader into the game, which is cool, because I thought that they might have, or thought somebody might have forgotten about that.
So we are going to move on now to question time. Again, I've said it a million times already this show, there is a hell of a lot more to talk about in 3.0. Just so many questions. But we're gonna spend some time with the full year report and analyze it, and then we'll come back to that. So for now, let's get to some questions. So going back to last week, because not all of them were done from then, Fastcart asks, who is the Rock of Relay?
Dolvac.
You don't remember the amount of times that we said about Fastcart? If he was, what was it? If he was any more of a rock, Sean Connery would stand on him and start making a film.
Pelikaningus is asking me to talk about the Javelin. You don't want me to talk about the Javelin. I don't like the Javelin.
What? Pardon, excuse me, but I do disagree with your opinion. No, I respect its validity.
I understand. And I appreciate your respect for my opinion, especially since I'm always right. Elwook asks, can't they just procedurally generate new netcode?
Yes, yeah. Of course they can.
No problem. Tilu asks, could Star Citizen and Squadron 42 come out too late? Hype dies, competition with other titles, etc.
Zelda is showing that Zelda is showing that that's not a problem.
It's hard to say. It could happen if it, takes 5 more years to come out. I don't think it will. But the key thing for me right now here is I have yet to see another title that actually competes with what Star Citizen is trying to do. Yep. There are other great games. Zelda is amazing, but if you actually think about it and you play through Zelda, no matter how amazing it is and how fun it is and how I think it's one of the best games ever made, it's still incredibly limited in scope compared to what Star Citizen is trying to offer. Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, which a lot of people, when it came out and when it was announced, were saying, oh, this is going to compete with Star Citizen. Yeah, great. It competes with Star Citizen until you go to shoot a gun or fly a plane, and it's crap. Like, no, I honestly don't think that anything that we have seen will compete with Star Citizen in where Star Citizen is sitting. If you look at something else, if you look at it, lots of people right now are playing PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, right? That is an amazing game. I love it. But it doesn't compete with Star Citizen, and it being out and it being great isn't going to reduce the hype that there is for Star Citizen, because Star Citizen is trying to do something completely different that no other game has done.
The only game, like, until I see a game that actually tries to do the things that Star Citizen is trying to do, I'm not really worried about competition. Yep. If Star Citizen comes out and is good, it will be in a class of its own. There will be nothing like it.
I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think worry would be the word I'd use if there was competition for Star Citizen. I'd definitely encourage it.
Yeah,
because, Chris has got his idea and he wants to make the best damn space game ever. If someone comes along and challenges that, then it could only, again, be good for us, because it's like, well, Chris steps up his game. I want to see this.
It's actually a good point. Remember when Elite Dangerous was announced, and all of us, and even Chris, were like, anyone that's a decent person was happy that this is bringing back space games. It's not seen as competition. It's seen as we get more good games. Now, question remains whether or not it will ever be a good game, but that's beside the point.
It's a beautiful VR simulator sort of thing.
Yes.
It's got its niche. It's certainly, there's a place in the market for virtually every game. And people play Euro Truck Sim. It's a relaxing game with 6 dimensions, and shit can go wrong, unlike Euro Truck. I can understand the appeal. I haven't picked it up since release, I have to admit, because I want something more towards the Star Citizen side than the slower side, but I get it.
So Curatus asks, will we see an increase in players per instance with 3.0 or maybe even one big instance for all players? If we see an increase, how big will it be? By the way, keep up the good work. We don't do any good work. We are just lazy and we show up here and talk at you every once in a while. At least that's me. Everyone
Apart from Canadian Syrup and the transcript team.
Oh my god.
Everyone
amazing. Bow down to them. They are the real backbone of Relay. Desmarius is in chat. You should
Desmarius is amazing.
Yeah.
He helped me do ATV this week in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So I think it'll probably be, we haven't heard recently, but their goal was 200, I think, per instance, up from what we're at, now, like 20,
yeah. And
30, somewhere there.
That's their current goal. Like
and then they want to push that up to like 2,000, I think, per instance. So yes, it will increase. How much, I think, is really, really up in the air. I think that's something they have to test.
I don't think even they know how much it's going to increase by. Like,
Nope.
they don't know what they're going to be able to get out of these network improvements. They hope, they have theories, but until it's actually tested, until we see what all of the things that are required are.
That stopped him in his tracks.
Someone's bored at work. I mean, hi. I'm gonna run away before I die. Agent 121370 asks, will traveling from system to system take time or almost instant arrival? It will take time.
Yeah.
Jump points take time.
Quantum takes time. Everything takes time.
Yep.
I have a most boring question about jump points, but someone's got to ask this at some point. Of you know how they want, if it's a new jump point, you have to map it out and fly it manually. But if it's an old one and it's been mapped, you can automatically plot through it. Will that function like an autopilot and you'll just sit back and watch the scenery, or will it be instant, blum blum? Because
I hope it's not instant. I hope you have to sit back and watch the scenery.
I'm pretty sure you're going to have to sit and watch. The other thing is that I'm very certain that this has not been nailed down, because they don't need jump points right now. They have ideas about how they'll work, but jump points will be important next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that point, you'll see a whole bunch about them. I think that I can almost guarantee you they will take time. I think that you will be able to autopilot, quote unquote, through already mapped jump points. But the thing I'm still looking forward to a lot is the crazy challenge of flying through an uncharted jump point and trying to make it through without dying. It's going to be great. I actually have a story about that. It's very old now. It's on Relay. You can go look for it. It's called The Black.
It's one of our better stories.
No.
3 out of 5 people give it a thumbs up.
All of our best stories are ones written by Erris.
No. Just the garbage woman. So Agent 121370 asks, will NPCs abandon ship, and if so, how? Yeah.
Probably
by getting out of it before it explodes.
Probably the exact same way. Yeah. Probably the exact same way you'd abandon a ship.
Yeah.
By running away.
I absolutely think they would. In fact, that might create really good gameplay opportunities for search and rescue.
Yeah. Well, they'll
is
need to,
picking up NPC pilots.
You can't only go pick up player pilots, because then you'll never have to go pick one up. So they actually have to have NPCs be able to do all of the things that a player can do. That's the only way Subsumption and the mission system work.
Yes, absolutely.
I've just had the most amazing thought. Thank you, whoever asked that question. But now, like an 890 jump breaking in part, everyone's going women and children first, and the band just stays there playing. Dun, 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 dun,
Says me
dun,
first,
dun,
and
dun,
pushes
dun,
everyone else out of the way.
Yeah, yeah. It was horrible how those cameramen just watched all those people drown.
Yeah. Terrible. Agent 121370 asks, will ships use fuel if not in motion? I plan to use my Endeavor as a static base until I earn enough UEC to operate it. I don't think so.
I don't think so. Unless if you can stabilize yourself in space somewhere, you should be fine.
Actually, I disagree. Because shouldn't the engine be the main power source for the entire ship? In which case, even if stationary, you still need electricity coming from somewhere.
No, they have power generators that are separate from the engines.
Okay.
Those things are nuclear.
Nuclear.
Could you tell me where the nuclear vessels are at Alameda, please?
I'm
go back to dirty.
There's their own like power generators are their own things apart from the engines. They should be separate. Yep. Now you should be able to park yourself in space and not be using any fuel. That should be in fact, if the game works similar to how real life works, you should be able to just fire your engines up to a certain speed and then turn them all off. And you should still go that speed for a very long time until you hit something.
Space engineers do that.
So I'm gonna quickly answer ask two questions from chat. Keep in mind, don't put your questions in chat. Put them into the question thing, because then we can actually see them,
Find them.
And we won't maybe miss them. So Brybase asks, do you think they might temporarily solve the net code issues by simply throwing extra hardware at it until bind unbind is working?
They don't. Well, maybe they might just add a crap ton more cloud servers to it. CIG doesn't tend to like to do things that way. So
that's not guaranteed to help either.
Not. And that's the other thing. We don't know if that would even do the job. So I would say I would lean towards no on that one, actually.
Evo Streams asks, I don't know. There. I'm still theorizing on what they will be revealing at Gamescom and CitizenCon this year. What new tech or content do you guys hope they show off? Personally, underwater biomes and creatures would be cool for me. Squadron 42.
Squadron 42's got to be in there somewhere. Also, all of those planets, Hurston, Microtech, Crusader, those are all towards the end of the year. They might be tooling around in those landing zones. There was a very interesting mention about one of Crusader's moons, which we are getting in like 6 or 7 weeks. It has underwater caves that are actually specifically mentioned in the production schedule. I don't know. Can we go down into them?
We have to be able to go down into them. Otherwise, there'd be no way of knowing that they're there, and they'd be useless.
Yeah, good point. I was just kind of shocked because I didn't think they were going to go that direction yet. It is Yella. Despite all its danger, there is much beauty to be found on Yella, like the underwater caves hidden beneath the moon's crust. Like, okay. All right.
I mean, if it's underwater, then there's a workaround that you could do of making a structure and then putting that in the water so it appears as if it's a cave system that's in the side of something, but it's actually like a prefab that's been slotted in. Yeah. That's not outside the realm of possibility, but whether or not that's the route they've gotten is speculation.
I was just super curious about that because I was like, oh, it wasn't that long ago that they said the caves are going to be really hard to do in their current tech, and now they are apparently doing them.
Yep.
So yeah.
So Tilu asks, the stuff that we expected to see, the missing stuff, mining, 300 reworks, the Redeemer, etc., is that not on the schedule because it's already done? It actually could be, because this schedule does
that
start
is possible.
at the beginning of April. There's a few things that carried over. Like they showed you when earlier stuff started that hasn't finished, but it is actually very possible that some of the stuff that's done isn't on the schedule.
It's very possible. I'd be kind of surprised if mining was done.
The only problem with that is that they do say at the very beginning of the production schedule, where is it? 1 second, scrolling up. Already complete and in 3.0 branch. And it's
if
not
it's not
included
there.
No.
So I mean, and the 300. I'm not sure why, but the 300 series rework has been kicked down the road quite a bit. That one. Well, we need Chris Smith to do it, and he's busy. I guess I think that's really the long and short of it. But I don't think that's done by any means. They would have shown it to us. Mining, I think it might be a research project, which is why it's not on there.
Trying to distract a cat. Sorry. My bad. Knoxville asks, now that we've got the 3.0 production schedule, what would you like CIG to do in regards to Squadron 42 production schedule? Release it.
It should be out as soon as they can. As soon as they're happy with releasing it, it should come out. They actually did mention it again in the video. And again, I'm actually fine with them not including any dates on it. I just want them to. I want them to show where they're at and what needs to be done.
That's the thing, and we don't. Part of the thing is they've added so much tech recently that we don't know what is being added for Squadron 42, what's being, left out. Do they have, they're still adding tech up to December in this 3.0 production schedule. How much of that has to be complete before Squadron?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. I don't know.
Is Squadron coming out this year?
What does your cat think?
I don't think you can hear it purring. I tried.
Look at the cat say, "What is this place? Where am I? Why does human move me? This isn't my comfort zone."
Kitty. Yeah, we'll see.
I'm wondering whether or not, 3.0 and Squadron were originally sort of close together with the schedule, weren't they?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering whether or not we might get to schedule for Squadron before 3.0 releases.
It's very possible.
In an ideal world, but maybe it'll just be when 3 releases.
I would like to point out that we now have a complete Idris and a complete Javelin. Those are the 2 big capital ships in that game. So it I don't know. I mean, who knows how far out it is? It really is impossible to tell. That's part of your frustration there, David. It's always been your frustration is we don't know where it's at.
We just need to know where it's at. Now, I do have a question on that. Let's say it was done right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do they launch it now or in a month or whatever, or do they wait until CitizenCon? Do they launch it?
Why would they wait?
Why? Well, they would wait because it's supposed to be a finished game. The waiting would be polish. Polish. But
would you rather see them release it? Would you rather see them release it the second it's done, or wait to make an event of it?
Oh, I don't want them to make an event of it. Making an event of it is stupid.
I thought we were all in this for the same reason. We want Chris to say, "I'm happy to ship that."
Yep.
Is that not the state we want it in? I don't care when it is, if it's a coincidence with an event or anything. As long as Chris says, "I'm happy to ship that," I'm happy to play it.
Hey,
that's what I signed up for.
If Chris takes 40 hours out of his busy schedule and plays through all of their current build of Squadron 42 and goes, "Yeah, that's done," I'm good. You know, whatever that is, you know, I'm good.
Okay, what do you guys think? Do you think we're going to see Squadron 42 this year?
I don't even know enough to speculate. Maybe.
I would say we will definitely see something. I reckon we will definitely see something.
We will,
even if it's just a small little bit. I reckon we'll see something straight out of Squadron. We haven't really seen much out of Squadron apart from the Morrow tour. So at the very least, I think we'll get something. I know it's a bit sad to say, but
Mr. Chambers over there in Frankfurt keeps poking us about it and going, "Oh, we're going to show you the cinematics. We're going to show you the cinematics. We're going to show you those cinematics because they're amazing. We're going to show you those cinematics. We're going to show you the cinematics." And we're like, "And come on, any day now."
I want it this year.
I want it this year. I have no idea whether they're good to go this year or not. Yeah. It's I have no indications really one way or the other.
We'll see.
Other than they seem really excited in Frankfurt and really like bouncing up and down in their chairs in order to get to show what they've done, and the ships are done for it. So
and all of the production shoots, all the cinematic shoots are done.
Yeah.
And cinematics are generally one of the last things to happen, except this is Star Citizen, which means that nothing makes sense anymore, and you can't go with how game development normally works.
Miku wants it last year.
Yeah. So Abdo asks, what similar things in Elite Dangerous will we see in Star Citizen? There will be spaceships, planets, some suns. There will be currency of some form. There will be missions where you fly.
Space stations.
Yeah, that is the extent of it.
Honestly, the similarities between the two games aren't that extensive. Star Citizen is a very different game from Elite Dangerous. Even though they're both space sims at heart.
Elite Dangerous is like a map. Like a fold-out map. You've got one of those fold-out maps and you fold it, and it gets so big and it's this giant map. Star Citizen,
which can be cool.
Star Citizen is a globe. It has depth, and Elite Dangerous is very one.
I got
one dimensional.
So what you're trying to say?
I can do you one better on that analogy if you want.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I think the comparison here for me is Elite Dangerous is the 2D paper map, and then Star Citizen is the 3D Google Maps, where you like, you know, it's in 3 dimensions and you can fly around the whole world.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, their only real similarities at the heart of it are the genre. That's it. It's all genre stuff.
Sorry, everyone. Apparently, my network is not doing great right now. It's dropping 1% of frames and probably looks bad on your end. I don't know why. Not much I can do about it during the show. Someone in the house is probably downloading something. Sorry.
Those damn cats.
Something.
Yeah, it would be Winston. Bloody Winston.
It's always Winston.
It's always Winston. So Bribbles,
well, I'm looking. I'm going to order the catnip.
Bribbles asks if anyone has watched the new season of Mystery Science Theater 3000. I have not.
Nope.
I've actually never watched any Mystery Science Theater 3000. Bribbles asks...
I haven't watched the other 2,999. Is that a problem?
Yes. It's a huge problem. You should go watch them immediately. Or you're fired.
All 2,999.
Yes.
Woohoo!
Bribbles...
3-day weekend.
Bribbles asks, do you think CIG will release 3.0 if the network unbind is not finished? Yes.
Yeah, it's a stretch goal that it will be released. It should be released if it's not done.
Brivels asks, what do you think Quantum Drive 2.0 will be?
A better version of Quantum Drive.
I think that might be how we start being interdicted and
yes,
and such.
I'm wondering whether or not
interdictions.
how much is going to be involved in plotting a course, because we know the larger ships are not going to be, turn on a dime, POTAS, swim sort of thing. You will need to plot the course. I'm wondering whether or not that's going to apply to all ships for quantum travel eventually. That would be quite interesting.
But it might also be like, okay, we've got the Idris, now we have to figure out how the Idris will get from one place to another.
Yep.
McNugget asks, how do you think CIG is going to release Squadron 42 if Item 2.0 is not ready yet and they keep adding features? That's
Item 2.0 is in 3.0.
Yeah. Item 2.0 is mostly ready. They're adding some other stuff to it, but also, you're right, that is the question. And that's one of the reasons I really want to see the Squadron 42 report or have some word about it from CIG, because I'm completely okay with them continually adding features to Star Citizen. It's an MMO. I don't expect it I don't expect it to launch live till late 2018, late 2019, like for another year or two. And that's okay. But at some point, and this is the question, it's what is the cutoff? When do they stop and say, no, this is where we cut off. No more tech is being added to Squadron 42.
I think that's already happened. My feeling is that they already know what that looks like. Like, they have, this is what our finished Squadron 42 is. We just don't know what that is yet. That's why we need the schedule.
I agree with you.
Well, I mean, the last we heard about Squadron, they wanted subsumption in before moving on. And looking at the 3.0 schedule, you can see in there when the AI will be able to walk around the ship and things like that. So perhaps not. I mean, I'm just completely spitballing and throwing whatever against the wall, but maybe sometime around that period of time is when we can start to speculate that Squadron might at least release, maybe. Please.
I don't know. Again, we need.
If I have to play Wing Commander 1 again, I'm going to cry.
We need that. A 3.0 report is great. I can't wait for 3.0. I think I'm actually more excited for 3.0 than I am for Squadron. I want to play the universe. I don't want to play dogfighting, and I want to be able to do other things. And 3.0 is when the other things start coming in: cargo, mining. Hopefully, we'll see, etc. But for the rest of the world, when Squadron releases, CIG will be a successful developer, and Star Citizen will have launched. Like, when Squadron launches is when everyone in the world says, oh, and well, no one's going to say we fucked up, because they wouldn't. It's when everyone says, hey, look at this thing. It took 9 years, which is forever because we don't know how game development works, but now it's out and it's great. And they're all a bunch of jackasses. But the point is, it's Squadron 42 that determines that. Yeah, when Squadron 42 launches, CIG are given legitimacy.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying, like, Squadron 42 could be wrapped tomorrow, and it might not come out till the end of the year. Or early next year, simply because it is that important that they get their first game launch as a company right. Especially and they don't have financial pressure. And they don't have financial pressure. Like, they don't have to make money tomorrow. They can take their time to make it good. Something I just noticed, because I'm like obsessively staring at this schedule. Two things, actually. First of all, scanner improvements are actually in for 3.0. If you look at the year schedule, version 2 of scanner improvements actually wraps the day before the launch date for 3.0.
Oh.
June 28th is when it wraps up.
Okay.
Also, I have no idea what this means, but item 2.0 elevators version 2. So we have a whole section just for elevators.
Yeah. They've got a few of those actually, don't they? There's like an elevator section, a doors section. Like there's a bunch of items 2.0 sections.
It's really sad that I got excited about the elevators. It really is, but I think that's such a cool bit of tech, you know, having a moving elevator inside a ship, inside a unit. I think that's amazing.
Inside a ship,
Yep. Sorry.
in orbit. So you're in an elevator going from one floor to another inside a multi-floor ship that is moving in orbit around a planet that is a moon that is moving in orbit around a planet that's moving in orbit around a sun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just
also,
fuck it. You know what?
Also, really interesting thing on this year-long schedule. From July to August, they have item degradation, failure, and luck.
Yes.
Which looks that's going to be interesting.
It's quite odd when you think about it. You've got this depth of I can be a person on a ship, in the elevator, in the universe, with all this going around me, but I can't walk up to my coffee pot and activate it and make my character a cup of coffee.
Yet.
All right, yet. But you know, it's computer game logic sometimes that kicks in. It's like you're this almighty creature from another world that can destroy planets. You can't get to that ledge that's slightly too high for you to jump to. Defeated again. It's like the prophecy foretold.
Or this mountain is slightly too steep for me to walk up. Yeah.
I wonder what kind of things like that we will encounter in Star Citizen, where it's like, yeah, I can pilot this cool ship and I can do X and I can do Y and I can do Z, but I can't make a bit of toast in the toaster. Something stupid, I know. Can't do the waddle of shame. Never run out of toilet paper.
I've got a parrot.
You do have a parrot. You have a feline parrot.
Are you gonna jump?
Release him to the wild.
Go. Cats.
I agree with Flint. That is a cat. Questions?
Miami Bat says should call him Fingers. Actually called him Winston because he's got extra thumbs, and Winston in Overwatch. God damn it! Get down. He has absolutely torn my sound. Parrot? Oh, that is amazing. Oh fuck.
And now we've gone off the deep end. All it took was Parrot.
Oh, that's amazing.
Amazing.
Wow.
I can't. That's it. I'm just.
Okay. Questions. We have questions? Are there any questions?
God. Where am I?
We only have 9 minutes.
Two asks, is the Frankfurt multi-tool on the schedule for mining first steps, repair, and such?
It's already done. We saw it in the game about a month ago. They may have included it by accident, but it was on the character's hip. So I think it's already done. I'm assuming that what they mean is the personal arc welder or multi-tool that we can use for repair and stuff.
Yeah. Carbide Edge asks, God, I need to increase the size of this. I'm so blind. Oh, God. Getting old. Don't get old. Carbide Edge asks, will they add the ability for radar to give some type of visual indication of how close you are to an object, such as an asteroid?
Almost certainly.
All that they're going to give us is a beeping noise when you're getting too close. Beep 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 beep, and it's gonna happen anytime you get too close to anything, up to and including when you're landing. Beep 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 beep. Landing.
Do you know what would be? I've always thought would be more effective if it swore. You know, shit,
holy
shit,
Yep.
Family show, people.
Definitely mature warning this week.
Yeah, sorry about that to all children who are listening, but really, you should probably know these words
Fuck
anyway.
you.
Miku asks in chat, do you think we'll see a prospector-sized ship for repair? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that's the Argo. Argo will be basically that.
The Argo's
a little bit
significantly
smaller,
isn't it?
but still, it's a little repair ship.
There will be something a bit bigger.
Probably. Yeah.
That's actually all the questions. We caught up with all the questions, which is...
How is that even possible
I don't know.
week?
Apparently, no one had questions about 3.0 this week.
I actually have a possible reason for that. I think their brains all exploded when that enormous amount of information fell on them.
That I still... Like, the thing is, like, I've been looking at this forever, and I haven't... Look, in September, October, we've got transport missions, smuggling missions, piracy missions, V2, defense missions, assassination missions, patrol missions, piracy, like planetary FPS ambush missions in July and August, being ambushed on cooperative avoidance, landing gear.
You notice how those missions are all sort of related?
Yeah.
Pirate, protect. I mean, that kind of sounds like there's some sort of economy system or something that might have been implemented by then.
But, like, fist combat is in here.
Yep.
May and June, fist combat. The Freelancer Max is in there. Hurston, the Carrack. There's... But then cargo game code engineering. Or... bumps. What is bumps? August and September, bumps.
Where is this?
It's right at the top. It's green, right underneath ship-to-ship refuel system, and somewhat underneath the criminality system. Bumps.
Wow.
It just says bumps.
That's an FPS system.
Is it just when you just touch and
it's
bump?
It's a fist bump.
No, it's not.
It has to go with the...
It's an FPS thing, so it's got to be player to player. But it might just be when people run into each other and like the way that the characters react to like bumping into another character.
But like that's in there.
That's such a Chris Roberts thing to put in there. but there's a month dedicated to bumps.
But how many people have even seen that? Like, there's so much still to look through. And what exactly? Yeah. Like, I could write. I feel like I could write an entire article just about planetary FPS ambush missions V2. Now, this is V2 being worked on from June to August. There's no mention of V1, which means that V1 of planetary ambush missions is probably already in 3.0.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I was actually just taking a look at some of the things that are already done. One of the things mentioned is a crash site mission.
Yep.
And it's under the outposts section. And that is, I want to figure out what that's about.
Yep.
I'm excited. Now, I have a question for chat. Could you mind if I direct a question?
Yeah,
in chat?
do it.
Do you think? Is it too far out? Did they give us the production schedule too early? Do you think it's okay for them to take the next 2.5 months to put out the next patch? It's certainly not the longest we've waited, but I'm wondering if people have the patience to wait.
While we wait for them to catch
weeks.
up, I personally think that it's fine. We've waited this long. If they had gone much longer, like if it slips to August, that's a problem. But
yeah, we don't want to be getting this We don't want to be getting 3.0 at Gamescom.
Yeah. Looks like chat is saying it's pretty good. Some people are saying it's earlier than they thought. It's done when it's done. Brybase thinks it might actually come too early. Leave it in, finish up the netcode.
My thought on the netcode thing is they can always, what they've shown with the netcode stuff is they can always do a 3.0.1 patch.
Yeah.
To throw that in. You know, they did it already with 2.6. They added in some netcode stuff after because it didn't make it. I think that they're fine to go ahead without the netcode if they have to. So,
I think Dan Grunland hit the nail right on the head. It's okay for me. I just want to know what's going on, and I think that was the important bit. Is they've said something when people are no longer going. It's good to have something.
And the thing that gets me here is, like, I was sitting and playing games last night when the schedule dropped, and I honestly did drop everything and started yelling at the other person in my group of friends that I was playing with, who's Success in Caps.
You have other friends?
Screw you.
Success. That's all right. He's part of Relay.
Yeah.
Now I understand. That's
exactly.
fine.
I only have friends that are in Relay, but they're all anyway.
That's all right.
So and I started yelling that the schedule's out, and I hadn't even read it yet, and it didn't matter what's on the schedule. The schedule is out.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that I'm gonna feel for Squadron. I don't care what they tell us. I don't care. Just it doesn't matter to me what they're going to show. I want to know what's going on. I'm not going to hold them against it for cutting down the Stanton system because they had to. But now that we know, and that's the problem that we had last year, at the end of last year, it's we didn't know. We had no idea what was going on. And this is them telling us, look, Stanton's not going to be as big as we promised in 3.0. Here's the reason. Here's what's happening instead. Fine. You win. Done. I'm good.
Yep.
Because they tell us.
Was it?
I just want to highlight what Noxel said. I hope I pronounced his name right. Real talk, it's super impressive that they even released a schedule with this much information in the first place. And yes, it is absolutely a good point. No one does this, period. There is no argument against that. The other thing I wanted to mention is, again, sort of tying back into what I said before, it is also notable that now that the schedule is out, it will be updated every week. So now we get to play a game that I actually quite enjoy, of actually following the schedule each week to see what changed and how it's shifted. And it's, for whatever reason, the way that it's displayed, I never get upset when something gets delayed in this fashion.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, look, they had to take more time to do this. I'm never like, damn it, those jerks, they're finishing what they have to do.
Oh, damn them. It took longer to do this thing that I want than I expected. Roar. Who cares? They're doing what, as long as they don't say, oh, it would be too difficult, we're gonna crack, oh, we're Elite Dangerous, it's actually just gonna be too hard for us to have private servers like we promised in the Kickstarter, so we're just gonna drop it.
Hey, guess what? It's time.
Yeah.
That's it.
Before we go,
we could probably sit here and talk about this for like the next 6 hours.
We could, but Ghost before we go, Ghost has a good point. They're back to keeping the pledge, and that's the important thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that pledge is what got me involved, and I'm pretty sure it's what got most of us hooked on what Chris was promising, because he was promising this.
Yeah. So I did want to mention that, like, we've been super critical of CIG's communication over the last 6 months.
Yep.
They seem to be getting real close to nailing it. or at least a lot better anyway.
Yeah.
Between the way ATV is set up now, happy hour, and the production updates every week, it's getting pretty good.
It's
good.
almost like they're starting to do what we've been asking for 6 months, quite frankly. And honestly, in my opinion, the only thing that they're now missing is the Squadron 42 update. Once they have that, I am happy. I'm happy with what we are getting.
Mm-hmm.
So, keep in mind, there are going to be the standard transcripts this week. Shiver's got shows on the base. Go listen to him. Nehkara, I'm sure you're going to write something up about some of this. I'm sure a bunch of us will. We're going to
have shows.
Stuff.
We're going to have stuff. Fourth Oracle put out a good article recently.
Yep.
He has approached me again about another article, so we're probably going to have that coming up in the following weeks. Not entirely sure timeline, but we got stuff in the oven.
We got stuff. Keep an eye out on our Twitter. Follow us or whatever on Twitter and on here, because we do announce when we're going live, and we are going to be starting to add some more shows to our live schedule. We've got
2 shows.
Last week we did the relay table, which Shiver runs and organizes now. We're going to be doing another one of those about 3.0 entirely. That happens once a month. Next week, currently I believe planned for not next week, but the week after, the 25th, we might be bringing back Beefcast, so stay tuned for that. So yeah, follow us on here or on Twitter to get notifications of that shit. And hey, we'll see y'all in the verse.
By the way, everyone, relay table can also be pronounced relatable.
I'm so proud of that.
This is why you don't bring kids to this place.
We swear and make bad jokes. Have a good day, everyone. Happy Easter.
Bye, everybody.